Hi, happy Monday. I willingly tortured myself last week. Why, you ask? Well, there have been accusations. Accusations that the worst comedy special ever was recently released. And the man who made that stand-up special is Brendan Schaub. He is a former professional MMA fighter turned podcast host and self-proclaimed stand-up comedian. Oh, and he is a professional friend of Joe Rogan. I should have said that first because it seems like the only reason that he was ever relevant in the first place. And today I don't really want to talk about all the controversies that surround Brendan Schaub outside of this special. Yes, there are women who have come forward and said that Brendan tried to hook up with them while they were in relationships with his friends and while he was in a relationship with his pregnant girlfriend at the time.
I had a guy that was like, why don't you walk me to my truck, this married guy, where I'm like, and we know him, I'm not going to say who it is.
Wait,
like,
I love that we have the same people that
the same ones come
want us to walk them to their... Oh, he came for me so hard, and we know his chick.
On New Year's Eve, while he was having dinner with his family, he was like, what are you doing tonight?
This year?
He also threatened to take legal action against said women who talked about these situations. Yes, he is a known copyright abuser and will try to copyright anyone who says that he sucks, that he's a shitbag, that he's unfunny, that he looks like he's melting more and more every year, that he's racist, creepy, and unlikable in every aspect. He took down a YouTube channel with 3,000 subscribers because they showed a clip of Brendan flirting with somebody that was not his wife. And yes, he is a big proponent of free speech and anti-cancel culture, and yes, that does completely contradict his tendency to censor anybody who tries to make him look bad.
To silence him, I thought you didn't get down with cancel culture. I don't in any facet.
But guys, as I said, I don't want to talk about that today. I will not talk about any of that stuff today. You won't see a single instance of me talking about that. Now, what I just did there was a joke. I just said I wouldn't do that, but if you just rewind to 30 seconds ago, I actually did the thing that I said I wasn't going to do. But today isn't about any of that, even though it does give great context to who Brendan Schaub is and why his career has headed towards this astronomically disastrous trajectory. Which brings me to my willing torture. I learned about this new comedy special from Brendan Schaub from my manager, and I recognized Brendan because I heard a lot about his last special and how bad it was. There's this great video you should check out by this channel called Beige Frequency, which dives in to his last comedy special and talks about just how awful it is. Brendan went from being an MMA fighter to starting this comedy podcast with a comedian friend of his, which inspired him to try stand-up comedy. So he sort of found himself plopped into this role where he tries to make people laugh, and he thinks he's pretty good at it. The last special he did was about 3 years ago, and it has 5.1 thousand reviews on IMDb with a score of 1.5 stars out of 10. So I would say he's pretty much at rock bottom, right? Now his big comeback came about 3 years later when he decided to independently release a new special after networks and streaming services refused to pick him up. Now this new special has 3.2 thousand reviews on IMDb already, and it has a staggering score of 1.1 stars out of 10. The special is called Gringo Papi. And if you're wondering, yes, Brendan Schaub is a white man who has zero ties to Mexico whatsoever, besides the fact that his wife is Mexican, of course. I say of course because about half of this special is dedicated to that single fact.
I married a Mexican, y'all. Mexican. Oh, the other thing you should know about dating a Mexican, nobody told me this.
But we'll dive into that later. The special is 25 minutes long, which is astonishingly short if you consider how fluffed this set is with stories and jokes that should ideally be about a quarter of the length that Brendan actually makes them. And the special was released under this media conglomerate brand thing that Brendan owns called Thick Boy. Yep, that's how it's spelled, with 3 C's. And also, yes, he is a 39-year-old man with kids. Brendan calls this Thick Boy brand a lifestyle choice and a channel that will be through the eyes of the founder, Brendan Schaub. I don't know what that means. Please do not ask me what that means, because I seriously have no idea. So as you can see, we haven't watched this special yet. Part of that is because I really just don't want to talk about it. And the other part of it is because everything surrounding this special and the packaging and the branding is so bad that it contributes to how unfunny this thing really is. I sat down with my friend to watch the special, and it took us over an hour to finish the 25-minute set because we had to keep pausing to think about why we were willingly putting ourselves through this mess. So with that, I think we should start the special. We open on a shot of the line in front of the venue and a local Jimmy John's next door, which happens to end before we have the chance to see how short the line really is. Brendan enters stage right to this song that Thick Boy Studios apparently produced. I don't know what Thick Boy Studios is.
Big just like the Thick Boy Squad. Big boy squad, big boy nation, big boys.
I wrote down some lyrics so you could, hear it from me. You could understand what was going on. The deep lyricism that he brings to the table. I'm really trying to get it. I take the L and elevate. I push it past the limit. Don't need no diamonds on my wrist though. Probably cause I swear the vision big, just like the thick boy squad, thick boy squad, thick boy nation, thick boy squad, thick boy nation. Running up the miles while they running out of patience. Just the thick boy squad, thick boy nation. I didn't like that. While looking for the full song, which I found and won't share with you because I had to go to therapy afterwards, I learned that Brendan has like way too many podcasts. One of which is called The Big Brown Breakdown, where Schaub talks about MMA and claimed that Fox's panel of presenters was selected only because they were black and questioned if the panel was the best possible for the job or if they only got the job because of their race. Very cool and normal things to worry about, Brendan. But guys, come on, stop letting me go on these tangents. We have to stick to the special. Brendan gets on stage and is presented with a backdrop that frankly makes me sick to my stomach. I apologize to the venue that he performed at. I don't know if this was their choice. I assume it's the regular backdrop, but I have to wonder what was going on. What was going on in their minds when they made this? Not only is the stage and the set ugly and outdated, but the directing and camera work in this special spits on any artistic integrity that is put into any comedy specials that come out today, especially for comedians that are getting as much attention as Brendan. The cameras look like network broadcasting rigs used for local TV stations, and the shots are ugly and lack any personality. He mainly uses a 3-camera setup, with this one camera being on stage right that shows Brendan and the crowd in one shot. Now, the issue with this shot is that the audience is so in the dark that in order to make them visible, they have to completely overexpose Brendan's face, leaving him with this white mask of pure energy that hides any semblance of what once was on that big, fat, ugly head of his. The shot also shows that like the backdrop just seems to end under Brendan's waist, which makes it look even worse than it did before. I don't want to like rail too much on, the background that someone else may have created, but if you're gonna shoot a special with that background, don't use a shot that shows it just awkwardly ending underneath you. If you want an example of really good camera work and directing for a great special, you should watch Rathaniel by Gerard Carmichael. Bo Burnham directed this special, and the use of color, focus, depth, and intimacy shown in the special, tied in with the actual set that Gerard is giving to the audience, is a great example of how storytelling and visuals can tie into each other, even in an art form such as a stand-up comedy special. And we have to talk about the atrocious editing in this special too. The amount of times that the camera cuts from someone just absolutely losing their shit laughing to just sitting immediately still is just so funny to me.
I don't mind it though. I'm the bro whisperer. That's what they call me. Are we vaccinated up in here, Dallas? Everybody vaccinated?
There also seems to be canned laughter that's like added in post after he tells his jokes, which just becomes increasingly obvious as you watch the people in the front row sit still as you hear the audience just losing their minds.
Are we vaccinated up in here, Dallas? Everybody vaccinated?
Now, it may seem like I'm just shitting on the visuals and the editing and all of this stuff for no reason, and I'm being mean, but when it really ties into how bad the special is as well in terms of just comedy, you'll start to understand that this whole thing from top to bottom is just a big, fat, big old, big shit sandwich. Now, the fact that I've talked for this long about the special without Brendan saying one single word in the actual special is funnier than any of the jokes told during this 25-minute shit show. So we are 28 seconds into this special, and Brendan finally speaks into the microphone, immediately blowing it out and setting the standard for the audio quality that we'll be seeing during this atrocity that he calls a comedy set.
What's up, Dallas?
Now, Schaub spends this time saying things that should sound like jokes if you don't understand English, but he's actually just saying things. It's pure nothingness, but he says it in this way that's supposed to convey that he's telling a joke.
Look at you guys. I'm not used to this. Dallas a little different. There's some ladies in the crowd tonight. I am not used to that.
He makes this joke about how people call him the bro whisperer, which was actually supposed to be the original name for Brendan's new special. He talked about how he was originally going to be more political in this special and how he was just going to rail on California's Governor Gavin Newsom.
Now I rip Newsom up a little bit in the special.
Oh, you do?
Rip him up a little bit.
There you go. Well, I think it'll go well,
Yeah.
Brennan.
Yep.
And, if you don't like it, suck it.
Yeah, suck it. Who's gonna be like, how dare you? I like it.
He takes some more shots at those stupid libs, and then he proceeds to do an ad read on his podcast for a healthcare company.
Brian, let's take a break, dude, and shut your yapper. Because when it comes to healthcare, it's important to make sure you're getting your money's worth, dude.
Healthcare is the whole deal. Crowd Health. Crowd Health offers a more flexible, affordable healthcare option without the hassle of insurance. Okay, so while you're shopping around,
And while I was researching that, I actually came across another classic Brendan Schaub clip. This is a quick trigger warning for sexual assault and abuse. Please skip forward like 15 seconds if this kind of content may be triggering to you. On Brendan's podcast, he says that a rape survivor liked the way the dick tastes.
get on that team.
Also say this. Katie and Ida, who blew up the team, got Gary Barnett fired.
Was she
Like the way the dick tastes.
Yeah. Was she
Like the way the dick tastes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well, she
what's
was
her name?
Katie Nida. She was a kicker at the University of
Played
Colorado.
at Chatfield High School.
She was a kicker.
Chatfield. Shout out Dave Logan for taking
she-
Chatfield
she-
at the top.
Yep, I'm glad that we can all be on the same page about how bad this person really is. Now back to the special. Now Brendan jumps right into it, asking about vaccinations, where I spotted someone in the front row of his show wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" sweatshirt. If you don't know the meaning behind this symbol, it was adopted as a symbol for libertarian and conservative groups in 2009 to mostly fight for the abolition of taxes in America. The flag was originally flown to represent American independence in 1775, but it was credited to a Christopher Gadsden, who was a slave trader and an owner of slaves. So for many people, this symbol represents bigotry and hatred. Benjamin Franklin notably used the snake logo to portray the temper and the conduct of America. Benjamin Franklin was also extremely racist, promoting the idea that letting black people in America would ruin fair opportunity for white people, and even fought against the increase of a German population in the United States, spouting his belief that they are not white and allowing them to integrate into the states would replace the culture, traditions, and language of the communities that they settle. Now, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Now, Brendan hasn't outright stood for a lot of these beliefs, even though I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that he would disagree with them. But this is all just to paint a picture of the kind of people that attend Brendan's shows. He then cheers on his audience for being skeptical of the vaccine, and he says, "I love you, Texas. That's how it is."
Are we vaccinated up in here, Dallas? Everybody vaccinated? He got you dicey. I love you, Texas. That's how it is. I love it. I love it.
He also says this dicey thing that I guess is like his little comedian catchphrase.
Dicey.
It's like that one episode of Chowder where Mung Dal needs to come up with a cool chef catchphrase in order to be popular, but his competitor has a way better catchphrase and just people lose their goddamn marbles over this catchphrase.
The dish today is Yvette Frapper sausages. First Yvette Frapper. What kind of cockamamie?
Now we're going to touch on this way later in the video in a lot more depth, but Brendan tries to be a real comedian multiple times by working the audience into his set in an organic way, but it often falls flat because it's so obvious that he plants these jokes into his set to seem more organic, but they really come off as corny and insincere. For example, he has this joke in his set about an anti-vaxxer in the crowd who is super against getting vaccinated. Now don't be fooled, he isn't against this guy in any way. He makes it very clear that he is not for mandatory vaccinations, but he'll usually do this thing where he just points at a random person in the crowd who might kind of fit the joke that he wants to tell, and then he'll act like he just improv'd it out of nowhere.
I love it. I love it. There's always one guy. No fucking way, bro. That needle's not touching this fucking temple, daddy.
The crazy thing is that this pre-written fake improv joke isn't even funny. But then he continues the joke by just coming up with a very nonsensical hypothetical, seemingly out of thin air, about the guy eating nachos. I just don't really understand what the joke is exactly. It's obvious that the guy wasn't eating nachos when he mentioned the nachos joke. He was just like, oh, and what if he was eating nachos?
As he says, he's taking a nacho, dipping in nacho cheese. Oh, my bad, Mr. Whole Foods. My bad. Yeah, whatever you want to do, man.
And then what does Mr. Whole Foods mean? Is the joke that he would hypothetically be eating nachos, and nachos are bought from a grocery store and the name of a popular grocery store is Whole Foods? Maybe it's going completely over my head, but I'm appalled that that is a joke. Now, as my friend Tom pointed out, and I have to agree, Brendan's comedy is something that I can only equate to someone who really likes that Family Guy joke where Peter just trips on the ground and groans for like a minute straight. I don't know how else to explain it, but I just know that he gets a kick out of that joke at the ripe age of 39. Then he continues his vaccine-based comedy, which I'm sure will age very well even 6 months from now. It's like if you gave a baby like spoiled baby formula. Brendan Schaub does seem like the kind of infant that would eat spoiled baby formula.
This whole vaccination stuff, I'm not anti-vax, man. I'm vaccinated, but it's...
Now, to say the quote, "I'm not anti-vax, but..." it's a very bold way to start a joke. Now, his vaccine joke is about how the government started incentive programs to get people to get vaccinated, which I can agree can be pretty useless most of the time. But the joke is delivered in such an uninspired and recycled way that we've heard so many times online that it's tough to listen to.
It's all in their marketing. They fucked this whole thing up in their marketing. With that Operation Warp Speed, when they launched that, remember they're trying to get everybody to get vaccinated? And they're like, yeah, go to Krispy Kreme, buy a dozen donuts, get vaccinated. Like... the fuck? That makes sense.
He also makes a pretty blatant fat people equals funny joke, which is so lazy and unfunny that I can show the clip without saying anything else and it'll speak for itself.
Go to Krispy Kreme, buy a dozen donuts, get vaccinated. Like, the fuck? That makes sense. Fat people are like, hell yeah, fuck this.
Here's another clip showing just how bad Brendan is at delivering the setup to his joke.
Remember the first dumbass that messed it all up for everybody, scared the shit out of from getting vaccinated? Remember that idiot?
Now, the first joke just rails on how stupid the first person who got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is and talks about the interview after they got the vaccination, and he claimed that they're a meth addict. Now, the joke Brendan tells is about the interview that this first person gives and how it's so bad that it scared everyone from getting the vaccine.
He's all over the news stations, the first moron to get that Johnson & Johnson, clearly a meth addict. Nobody checked into his background. Remember that? They put him on the news, he's sweaty as shit. He was on all the major broadcasts, he's like, holy shit, dude! Yeah, I got it done, I got that Johnson & Johnson, bro, I don't feel good, bro. I can't stop sweating, bro. I feel like I'm growing wings, bro. I'm gonna lay low for a little bit on the vaccination. I'm just gonna... Remember that moron?
Now, I listened to this joke and I wondered, man, am I going crazy or did I just not see this interview? Because it is such an exaggerated and specific joke that he said it as if everyone knew what he was talking about. Something was just telling me that this never happened. And sure enough, I found the interview from the first recipient of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and it was a woman, not a man, who responded like this.
Don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared. I'm mostly nervous and excited because of the fact that they told me yesterday they didn't know when I would be able to get it. We're going to do yours at 2 o'clock today, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. It's awesome. It was like a miracle.
It almost seems like Brendan's joke was just based off of a complete lie, and he sort of came up with the situation out of thin air to promote this narrative that was never true. I don't know why. I wonder why I'm getting that weird feeling. I was wondering if maybe he was talking about like how the Pfizer or Moderna recipients responded when they first got it. But there was no interview for the first recipient of the Moderna vaccine, and then this was the response from the first Pfizer recipient.
Now I've done it, and hopefully it'll help other people to come along and do as I did, try and do the best to get rid of this terrible thing.
Well, hey, maybe I'm being too hard on just a simple joke. It's just a joke. Don't take it so seriously. Comedians make up stories all the time. This is completely normal. Yes, of course, it is normal for comedians to exaggerate or even make up stories for a joke, but it doesn't make much sense when the basis of your story is about a true news event that you're reminding people of, especially when the purpose of the joke is to convey a political belief that you have. You guys remember when Joe Biden was first elected president? Yep, that guy remembers. Yeah. Okay, so everyone was wondering when this guy was inaugurated, was he going to be too old to do the job, right? Sleepy Joe, old Joe, he's melting as he talks. And you guys remember what happened. He walked up to the podium and he completely tripped. He fell on his face and then he stood up, and you could see the barf dribbling down his shirt and the shit coming out of his butt. And you could see the libs in the audience watching and they were like, oh, is there any way I can, you think we could change our vote? Is it too late to change our vote? Maybe we could call a recount, maybe? I don't know. The UK is looking pretty good. Brendan then equates the LA mask mandate to North Korea with a beach.
There's a reason I decided to shoot my special here, man. You guys just give me so much love. I absolutely love Texas, man. I haven't touched a mask since I touched down. It is fantastic. LA is not like this, y'all. LA is North Korea with a beach. It is fucking...
And then he goes on the first of many jokes that I can only describe as I hate my wife and kids boomer comedy.
Dallas, my lockdown's different. I got a 5-year-old and 2-year-old. Parents know what I'm talking about. I would rather do anything else than be locked down with those fucking demons 24/7. We're not even locked down. My girl was fighting with me the other week. We get locked down, we're fucked. She was fighting with me. Fucking Fauci, Delta, mask. What are we gonna do? I think to myself, oh my God.
And then he follows it up with another dated joke that I can only really describe as haha, gay funny.
My life would be so much easier if I was just gay as shit. Quarantine with the homies? You know how much more fun we would have? Oh my God, dude. We'd like play video games all day. We'd work out. At night, we'd fuck each other.
Oh, but you know that he goes right back in after that joke into his I hate my wife core aesthetic that he loves so much.
One thing that I'm grateful for the governor of California, Governor Newsom, for locking us down for an entire year and ruining small businesses. I realized my girl's not cool. She's not a friendly human being. I married a goddamn rattlesnake. She's like, this is my girl. This is my girl, man. This is what I'm dealing with.
There's nothing that is going to age worse than a comedy routine about hating quarantine with your wife. And then we get to the part of the special where Brendan starts telling stories about his life. And Brendan does this weird thing in his specials where, how do I explain it correctly? Oh, he lies. You saw it earlier with that Johnson & Johnson story, but Brendan Schaub is a serial liar. It has been proven in the past that he constantly fluffs his stories with things that did not happen whatsoever, and he does it again and again in this special. For context of this proof, that Beige Frequency channel that did a review on Brendan's first special talked about this joke that he tells about his experience with the UFC doctor who patches him up after a really bad fight he had. Not only is the joke very racist, but it's also completely fabricated.
But then there is this segment where he talks about the Chinese UFC doctor who patched him up after the Travis Brown fight.
This giant Asian doctor walks up to me and goes, Mr. Schaub, sorry for your loss. Thank you. That makes me feel better. Thank you for that. He goes, but your lip.
My name is Dr. Greg Hsu. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist. I'm the UFC consultant physician. I take care of all the fighters as well as employees within the UFC family.
He takes out the biggest syringe you've ever seen in your life, like he's out of a goddamn comic book. Goes, Mr. Schaub, after you numb your lip, you need many, many stitches. This be worst pain in your life, guaranteed. Worst pain in your life.
What I enjoy the most is really seeing the rapport that I have with the fighters. I've got to know them so well that they just know me now. They just know me as the doc.
Yep, that's absolutely real. And my jaw also dropped when I saw that. So Brendan sets up this joke where his son is going to his first day of school and he takes a picture of all the kids to send to his wife. And here's what he says.
First day of kindergarten. So I got him his first day outfit looking all fucking fly. Dope kicks, giant backpack, backwards hat. Looks just like me. All his little friends out front in their first day outfits. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are cute as shit. Get tight. There's a bunch of you squeezing tight. Daddy's gonna take a picture. Ready? Cheese on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cheese. They're all cheese. I take out my phone. I'm all, hell yeah. I snap a pic. I text it to my girl. She gets it. She looks at it. She goes, crop out the uglies. Resend. Excuse me? I said, you're in a group chat with other parents, dumbass. Savage, y'all. Savage.
Yeah, no, that didn't happen, Brendan. I'm pretty sure your wife didn't say that in a group chat with the other kids' parents. I'm pretty sure your wife didn't say any of that at all, actually. How embarrassing that Brendan's wife called a bunch of her son's classmates ugly in a group chat with their parents. Wow, very realistic and believable. Okay, so we're a little over a quarter way through the special, and so it's time to get into the Gringo Papi part of the set, I guess, which can be boiled down to...
I married a Mexican, y'all.
Yep, this one sentence is the basis for practically the rest of the set. So I want to do my best to get through these jokes with as little pain and time as I possibly can. First off, Brendan, a white man, talks about how he married a Mexican woman, and the audience goes absolutely bonkers over it.
I thought you would like that. Listen.
Then he makes a joke about how his wife is a real Mexican and not a Taco Bell Mexican.
I don't mean like Taco Bell Mexican. No. I'm talking Guadalajara. Born and raised. Came to the States 10 years ago, illegally Mexican.
This would be a weird and racist joke coming from a Mexican person. It's even more weird and more racist coming from a white man like Brendan Schaub. And I don't need to dive in and explain to you why it's racist to say that there are real Mexicans and Taco Bell Mexicans. You're either Mexican or you're not Mexican. It's not that complicated. He also clarifies that his wife came to the States illegally, which is something that the political party that Brendan identifies behind is actually very much against. They don't believe that your wife should be in this country. So I'm sure she's happy that you're probably performing in front of a room of people that think that she should be in jail. Then Brendan goes on this long joke about tokenizing and stereotyping Latino women while also shitting on the bodies of white women at the same time, something that only real comedians can do.
I dated a lot of white girls, big titties and flat asses before her, and just never worked out for me. It just would never work out. And I'll never forget this. One of my boys goes, dude, Papi, what are you doing, bro? Get with a Latina, bro. You know why? Because they're fun and they're spicy.
Those shitty bottom of the barrel comedians, they just talk about normal everyday shit. A real Brendan Schaub comedian knows how to talk about bro shit. Hyping up your wife because she's Mexican after talking for 5 minutes about how much of an asshole she is. And then he has this whole bit about his wife feeding him real Mexican food. And the joke, listen closely, the joke is that he says the names of these foods in a funny voice.
Dude, when we first got together, she was cooking authentic Mexican food 7 nights a week. I'm not used to this. I was like, what? Fajitas every Wednesday? Fuck yeah. No, dumbass. Not fajitas every Wednesday. Real Mexican dishes, y'all. Real shit from the motherland. I'm talking huevos rancheros. Carne asada. Pico de gallo. And my favorite, chili.
The thing that confuses me about the setup for this joke is that he expected fajitas, but that was too basic, so his wife cooked him real Mexican food. And by real Mexican food, he means huevos rancheros, carne asada, and pico de gallo, which everybody knows about. That's not to say that these things aren't real Mexican food, but the basis of the joke is that it's exotic and authentic compared to fajitas. Get that shit out of my face. I don't want that gross Americanized Mexican bullshit. Why don't you give me some salsa? Yeah. And then we got some more Mexican food jokes about how his wife's food makes him take big poopies.
Every time they would come, like, does it ever occur to her? Maybe Brendan's not trying to shit his pants tonight. How about that? Fuck.
He also makes this joke about eating so much Mexican food that they would be built like armadillos.
I've never been thicker since I got with a Mexican, man. We never tailor off the carbs? That's the game plan? We're all gonna be built like armadillos?
What the hell does that mean? No, I'm serious. What does that mean? Brendan has this tendency to make these really dumbass similes that make no sense, but he thinks it's funny for the sake of, LOL, this is so random.
We're thick like peanut butter. I don't know why. My mouth was so dry like a parrot's tongue. It was so fucking dry. I was like, he's been in so many tanning beds. His skin looks like Sacagawea's purse spread over a carcass now.
He also makes this joke about his friend and fellow comedian Theo Von's cocaine addiction that he struggles with, which I want to believe that he asked Theo for permission to do this joke, but I'm having a hard time believing he actually did.
You know how like Theo Von can't pronounce cocaine? You know how like he struggles with cocaine? Like if there was cocaine on the table right now, he'd fucking snort it from right field. You feel me?
I guess I can't really criticize him for that because I don't know, but knowing everything that Brendan's done thus far and how much respect he has for his friends where he'll try to have sex with their wives, I wouldn't put it past him. He then impersonates his wife's mother with this horrible racist Mexican accent while saying very basic Spanish words.
I know you know, somebody told you I'm on keto. She goes, mijo, bueno, ándale, mijo. Cabron, look, cabron. She grabs this tray, she goes, cabron, look, taquitos.
And if that wasn't disrespectful enough, he ends the joke by calling her a bitch.
It's keto, bitch!
Very cool, and I'm sure his mother-in-law, who doesn't speak English, approves of this very awesome I hate my mother-in-law joke. Then we have this awesome Mexicans love flaming hot Cheetos joke.
Oh, the other thing you should know about dating a Mexican, nobody told me this. There's gonna be flaming hot Cheetos all over your house. They love them. They love them. It's like catnip for Mexicans. They love them.
And just so you know, about 6 minutes have passed since he started talking about his Mexican wife. We are about halfway through the special, and he is still talking about Mexican stereotypes. Brendan often has trouble pacing his jokes and how fast he speaks in this special as well, sometimes getting ahead of himself so much that it becomes very hard to understand what he's saying.
The shit out of from getting vaccinated. I'll never forget this. One of my boys goes, Theo Von can't pronounce cocaine. My white friends never dated a Latino before go, I struggle with English at times.
But it doesn't really matter, because most of Brendan's comedy comes from saying things in a funny voice, something that really cracks his audience up.
Bitch, I am 38. They're there with their amigos. LA is not like this, y'all. Look at you guys. No way. White people, we're not like that, are we? What? Fajitas every Wednesday? Fuck yeah.
He has a joke about how his son speaks Spanish and he doesn't, and his son calls him this.
You know what it feels like to my 5-year-old son roll up on his bike and talk shit to me in Spanish? You know what that feels like? As a father, you know what that feels like? I don't have a clue what he's talking about. I don't have a clue. I thought puto meant dude for the longest time.
But he thinks that his son is just saying dude in Spanish, so he parades around the town yelling the word.
I dropped him off at school last week. I was all, later, puto! Teacher was like, what the fuck? I'm all, puto, puto. Puto?
Yes, Brendan, a very realistic story. I'm sure that you, a 39-year-old man who is married to a woman who speaks fluent Spanish, has no idea what your own child is saying to you. Oh, and also, maybe I'm wrong because I am not a Spanish speaker, but according to the internet, this is a homophobic slur in Spanish, and it is pretty offensive to a lot of gay people because it is a term previously used for male prostitutes, which is now used to discriminate against gay people in Mexico. But yes, Brendan, I truly do believe that you screamed this at your son when you dropped him off at school. Then for 2 minutes, he tells a joke where he explains what a quinceañera is as if nobody in the audience has ever heard of one.
One of the many things I love about the Mexican culture is, and I do love your culture, man. One of the many things I love about it is you guys always have something to celebrate. Last week, some girl turned 15. Threw the party at my house. Apparently, the Mexican culture turned 15 is a big deal. I walk in the house, there's a mariachi band. They're beating the shit out of this piñata. There's flaming hot Cheetos spraying over the goddamn living room.
Brendan may have been with his wife for over 10 years, but he is certainly learning a lot about Mexican culture to this day. And then he has a joke about Mexican people having big families and fitting into one car.
I was taking my family out for dinner the other night. By family, I mean all 15 of them. And we walk outside and they all gather around my car. I drove a 2-door coupe. It makes no fucking sense. And my mother-in-law's at the trunk. I'm all, Mama, we just talked about this inside the house. Remember, you have your own car. I will text you the address. We will meet at the restaurant. She goes, no, mijo. We fit. No, you don't fit. She goes, bueno, we fit. I went, please don't do this. I promise you, you do not fucking fit. Sure enough, we fit, y'all. We fucking fit, man, yeah.
His impersonation of his mother-in-law's Spanish is so nonsensical that it comes off as offensive. Well, no, it is offensive. Bueno, we fit? What? Another joke of his is how he went to couples therapy with his wife, but the therapist's name was Rodriguez, so it was an unfair advantage.
We're driving to couples therapy. She's crying just because she ran on flaming hot Cheetos. We pull up to, and this therapist has her name plastered on the side of the goddamn building. Giant red neon letters, just fucking zzz. It says Dr. Rodriguez. I get out, I'm like, well, it's an away game for your boy, isn't it? We're looking for a Dr. Robinson, maybe Dr. Allen at this point, you feel me? A little home field advantage.
Basically another joke about how bad his relationship is with his wife and how therapy for them is some kind of competition to see who's right. That's not to say that going to couples therapy isn't a good thing and a healthy thing to have in a relationship whether or not things are going bad, but the framing around each of these jokes that regard his wife is that she's a total asshole, I guess. This video has devolved from me picking apart jokes to me just explaining what's happening and then playing the clip. I don't have to explain why any of these things are bad because they all boil down to racist Mexican stereotypes that I heard when I was 12 years old. The next awesome quip that he delivers is about his wife baking Mexican cookies.
So we move in the house. My girl goes, Papi, I've seen the neighbors. They're pretty old. Let's play it safe. They're probably COVID conscious. Why don't you just go over and introduce yourself, right? I'll bake some Mexican cookies and you go over there. I'm like, what the fuck's a Mexican cookie? What are you talking about? It's like a chocolate chip with salsa all over it? What are you talking about? What are you...
Yes, very funny joke, Brendan. Oh, a Mexican version of this food? Oh, is that just the normal version of the food with salsa on it? Haha, it's funny. It's funny because Mexican people eat salsa. Not to mention that the audience audibly groaned at this joke because it's nothing. This joke is a big nothing burger, or a nothing quesadilla, as Brendan would probably call it. Now we are finally to the last joke of this special. 5 more minutes and we are finally freed from the shackles that tied us up to this oiled up bozo. Brendan tells an awesome story about how a mountain lion terrorized his neighborhood. And yes, this story is absolutely not real. He talks about the Nextdoor app, which funny enough, I just made a video about with Chad on my second channel. And he makes this great joke about how the Nextdoor app was created by Tekashi69 because there are a bunch of snitches on it.
There's an entire community of people just snitching on each other. It's like Tekashi69 made this app. It's fantastic.
A joke that I'm sure was very well understood by his audience of 30-year-old Texans. He goes on to tell us about his very real neighbors who complained about the lion.
What I didn't know is you can narrow it down to your hood. You can narrow it down right to your neighborhood. Dude, I did that 23andMe. I am white as shit, Dallas. Yeah. 2 doors down, Jerry goes, "Hey, man, this mountain lion ate my goddamn dog." Diane, right next door to me, goes, "Yeah, I used to be the fucking cat lady. Not anymore. That mountain lion ripped my goddamn cat's head off and ate all of them." Then David, right next door to me, David goes, "Yeah, the same mountain lion stole my Amazon package."
And he begins to tell us about how he bought an AR-15 with a bunch of goddamn Tom Clancy Ghost Recon gear to take out this thing.
So I go into my local LA gun store. Again, I've never bought a gun. I got so hustled in there. I walked out with an AR-15. Like the red laser thing on top of it. I walked out with the Zero Dark 30 Navy SEAL night vision helmet. So I get home, I've never owned a gun. I'm hyped up, I'm loading the gun. I got my fucking night vision on. I'm like, this shit is fucking dope, dude.
With the precursor of everything that Brendan has told us before this, I'm not sure why the audience isn't sick of hearing him tell the most fabricated and lame daydream-ass stories that he keeps spewing from his little lips. Now, I read this study. Yes, you heard me. I read an academic dissertation by Janine Schwartz about the linguistic aspects of verbal comedy, and I learned about the linguistic features of joke telling. This includes comedic repetition to determine a joke's rhythmic flow when it comes to storytelling, something that Brendan seems to fall flat on, where he either speaks so fast that he can't keep his audience aware of where he is in the story, or he repeats something so many times that it becomes nonsensical and boring.
3 a.m. on the dot, I'm woken up to 3 a.m. on the goddamn dot. I'm woken up again. 3 a.m. hits, I hear
This also includes intonation, which is the way that a speaker's voice rises and falls while speaking. This includes changing the expression of how you talk depending on what is said and who you are portraying, and it is also used to portray other characters in a situation so it's easier for the audience to follow your story. Brendan tries this by using countless poor Mexican accents to represent his wife, friends, and mother-in-law, but they are all so stereotypical and lazy that it comes off as offensive and unfunny. He also uses intonation to make his jokes a lot funnier. Much of what Brendan says in his jokes just boil down to, "Oh, I said it in a funny voice, so that means it's funny." And he does the same thing often with physical humor as well.
Done. I got that Johnson & Johnson, bro. I don't feel good, bro.
And both elements can be used to widely improve a stand-up comedian's performance, but when you have a poor foundation for the jokes that you're using intonation and physicality for, it falls flat and it seems like you're reaching for the laughs. Finally, I want to talk about the linguistic aspect of disfluencies. This is when a stand-up comedian would slip up, correct themselves, pause, stutter, repeat words, and use these things to influence the audience into participating. Whether that's just laughing or, reacting by gasping or groaning, or even heckling. Sometimes a comedian will say something, and by gauging the audience reaction, they can pause for comedic effect and add to the joke by including an audience's reaction as part of that joke. This also ties into heckling in comedy as well. Now, these disfluencies can be improvised into a set if a comedian is quick enough to bounce off of this audience interaction, but a lot of times jokes will be built in to the expectation of an audience member reacting a certain way. Brendan does this a lot in his set, and he does it so poorly that it comes off as clunky and very obvious.
There's always one guy, no fucking way, bro. At night, we'd fuck each other. This guy was all, what the fuck? No. Girl spicy, right? Girl spicy. You know what spicy means? They're assholes. That's what that means.
In this specific case, Brendan makes a joke about wearing Uggs. Yes, this is a comedy special in 2022. He says the joke, and I guess he waits for the audience to just, have a meltdown over a man wearing Uggs. But he immediately responds to a little bit of audience reaction as if they are appalled that he is wearing what is commonly known as feminine footwear.
I'll be sleeping, right? I'm gonna hear, wow! I'm gonna fucking pop out of bed, right? I'm gonna fucking, yeah! And then I always have my Uggs bedside, right? My Uggs will be right there. Be cool, Tom Brady wears Uggs, so I'll slide my Uggs on, right?
He also makes a joke about him having a big dick, and then he points out some random lady in the crowd and says that she's super offended.
I'll have my Air 15 like this, I have my Zero Dark 30 night vision like this, my big dick's right there still, so I'm like... I don't know why I threw that in, but be cool. So I'm fucking... She's so offended, so I'm here, right? Still got the big dick. Sorry, I'm fucking here. Still got my Ugg boots. Still got the big dick. Not a big deal. Sorry.
Yes, Brendan, someone who is in the front row of your little overgrown high school fart fest is going to be offended by a big penis joke. Brendan also wants to be a 17-year-old high school jock so bad that his language and demeanor comes off as very Steve Buscemi fellow kids-esque.
I'm looking at my Ring camera and go, World Star! Your boy's gonna go viral. It's gonna be lit as fuck. I can't wait, man.
He calls his wife a bitch.
Shut up, bitch.
And then continues to end his set in such an unnatural way that it caught me off guard, someone who has been expecting the end of this set to be an absolute dumpster fire already. I think it was probably the weakest closing bit that I've ever seen in a comedy special.
I've never seen a mountain lion in person before. Oh, I panicked. Dude, I panicked. I went, oh shit! And I slammed the door. I got on that Ring app the next morning and went, yo, we got a mountain lion problem, y'all.
Yo, let's suck my time. I love you guys.
Still need a girl with the thickness. Don't me the gloves, I'm gonna beat that shit up for that girl. I'm fighter and kid.
And with that, the set came to a close, and the credits are just pictures of Brendan with his friends, which I don't think they were even at the show. So I guess he just wanted to show off a little slideshow of him and his friends, which is cute, I guess, having Chris D'Elia in your credits, someone who's been accused of, exploiting a minor and soliciting child pornography, is super cool. So is Brendan Schaub's Gringo Papi as bad as everyone is saying it is? Well, first we have to look at the fact that, yes, yeah, it was that bad. I had to take 5 showers after I watched this special, and I still felt the grease that this little slime ball spewed onto me when I listened to him talk for 25 minutes straight. Now, it's unfortunate that there are so many struggling stand-up comedians who are genuinely hilarious, inventive, and are changing the world of stand-up comedy, and people like Brendan Schaub are able to make a living doing this shit. Now, I'm no avid stand-up comedy watcher, but if I had to recommend some stand-up comics that I think are hilarious, I would recommend Grace Schmidt, Brandon Wardell, and this guy named Juan who talks about soup on TikTok. Now, if you have any stand-up comedians that you love and you think they need more recognition, please let me know in the comments down below. It would be really great if out of the hate that I just threw at this gross man, we build up some comedians that really deserve it. Thank you for watching this video. Please engage with it in some way if you liked it at all. Whether that means liking or commenting on it, or even just sending it to a friend if you enjoyed it. My social media and my other channels are all in the description below if you want to check those out. I'm on basically every social media under @nickisnotgreen. Please have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.